my first time here, so it's really good to be here. There's a lot of beer, a lot of ale, and a lot of meat. Which is kind of like male stereotyping, isn't it, really? But, I think, most of you know I've got 4 lads of my own, and and I live in community. It's really interesting living in community because male-female dynamics come out. You know, sometimes the lad's presence is very, very visible. And a couple of years back, there were a lot of lads, and the environment, there's a lot of masculine banter. There's a lot of sport. We've got a big garden at the back. The volleyball's going all the time, and the football. And but one of the things that happened to the lads as well is that in our house, that they really started to look at issues around being a man and being a Christian. And well, I think you're involved with that as well, weren't you, Mark? You know, I think particularly my son Jerry set up something which they called ambient vibes, which was just getting together in a room with some beer, putting the lights low, playing some music, and talking and being really accountable to one another. And I think quite a lot of that, it was about all sorts of stuff in life, but sexuality was part of it. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that is often either dealt with humour or not dealt with at all. But that kind of secret history that all of us have got around that part of being masculinity was something that was really shared. It was brilliant to see that kind of accountability. And I could see from my lads how a kind of culture which was authentically masculine, authentically spiritual, and real helped them all to grow. And I was talking to a guy who's just joined with us recently, and he's great with my lads, and he said he's always been looking for people who were passionate about their faith, but also unashamed about being men, masculine. There's been a lot of talk about the feminization of church and the fact that for men it's not always been a place where things that in male DNA get to be celebrated. So I really commend Mighty Men. It's very similar to something. Kind of want to say what's to be authentically masculine, authentically Christian. But I think as men, when we are on our own, if you like, single-sex environments. I moved around the country. I went to 6 different schools growing up, and I went to all-male schools and mixed schools. So, anyone been to an all-male school? What was it like? To be honest, I went from an all-male school to a mixed grammar school, and back to an all-male school, and I really noticed the differences very stark in that environment. You know, the first school I went to, secondary school, a bunch of lads, good big rugby playing school. It was harsh. You know, it was harsh. And we talk about harsh banter in our house, but you know, there's a harshness, isn't there? Sometimes about guys when they get together. When I moved to this kind of mixed school, I didn't see a fight. Whereas in the other school, there was always fights in the playground. It was just that was the culture. It just mellowed the guys out being with girls. And then when I moved to do my 6th form in an all-male school again, I was very surprised about how childish the mockery and the banter was. You know, it's just kind of like, anyway, but it's just things about when men get together, aren't there? And there's some really good things about men getting together. But there's also some things that we need to watch and be careful about. And there's a very obvious thing to say, but in the book of Genesis, when it talks about God creating man in his own image, it says, God created man in his own image, male and female, he created them. And there was something about the image of God that is fulfilled in men and women together, I think. And probably all of us can think of hyper-feminine and hyper-masculine people. There's the very girly girl, you know what I mean? Sort of frilly and giggly and think. And there's a kind of the hyper-masculine. You don't want the stereotype of an absolutely out there masculine guy, or with all the worst male stereotypes. I had a couple of friends around tonight, and one of them was the woman was telling me about her brothers, an Australian Hell's Angel. That kind of, for me, I think he used to be a tattoo artist. Then became a full blood-held angel. And I thought, okay, so what you think of initiation ceremonies? You think about violence, you think about being hard, and you think, how would I feel having a social meeting with someone like that? I'd probably feel uncomfortable. And I think that most of us, when people are hyper-masculine or hyper-feminine, they're a bit dysfunctional. But most of us need to celebrate a bit of both. And I suppose, when I think about some of the issues around masculinity, if it's hyper, it's a bit dysfunctional. One thing that Ross Cook often says is that we need a skeleton to hang things on. If the skeleton is too prominent, it's ugly. You look at someone who's anorexic and they're like skeletal, and it's ugly, isn't it? And I think that's just in terms of some of the issues that we look at as well. We might take an issue like issue. The Bible talks about a role for men there in history. If you look at the book of Ephesians, Paul writes about that subject. And actually, we have to handle a subject like that really lightly, otherwise it becomes ugly. It's a skeleton. I think it's actually meant to be a skeleton there. It's very, very subtle. When I got married to Tina, we were very egalitarian. We said, we believe in equality. And we do. And Tina's got lots of wisdom that I don't have. And does life. She's got, there's a lot of mutual respect between us. But as we've done life together, we've recognised there is a kind of a headship thing which works for both of us, even though we wouldn't want to impose that. It just seems to work. But it's so subtle that it's better to be like a skeleton that's under flesh. And I think there's lots of things about masculinity and femininity that work like that. And in fact, lots of things that are true, because if we push something too hard, then we become dominating rather than releasing and blessing. And that was, just thinking about the context of that issue in particular. It's one where, when Paul writes in Ephesians, he says, submit to one another as to the Lord. He tells women how they relate to men. And then he tells men how they should love wives like they love their own body. And it's the kind of the subtleties that are in there mean I've got to handle this sort of stuff really carefully. And I guess that's true for all of us as we do the male thing. One of the issues that I'm quite aware of in Wooded is how sensitive some of the women are. I had an email from a woman at church because I talked from the platform about girls. And she said, you shouldn't use the word girl to describe women, it's disrespectful. So I was oblivious to that idea. I thought girls night in, girl power. But it's just for all of us in the things that we celebrate. We've got to be careful that what we celebrate doesn't diminish other people. And one of the things that I'll step up in a minute. This may be helpful to you guys being. But it's kind of, how do we not become an unconscious diminisher? I went to a great lecture from the Global Leaders Summit recently, and it talks about people who multiply and people who diminish us. And people who we work for, our bosses, can draw out our effectiveness, or they can be very controlling and restrict our effectiveness. It was a really helpful talk. But the person giving the talk talks about the unconscious diminisher, where some of the traits that we have, they're really positive traits. Being optimistic, being a rescuer, being always on it, can actually diminish people because we don't give them a chance to shine. We don't sometimes give them a chance to make mistakes and learn and grow. And I think as for us, for men, as we relate to other men, as we relate to women, if we're too on it sometimes, we can not give them space to be themselves. And again, big deal for us as we celebrate some really positive masculine virtues: energy, focus, courage, that we don't diminish other people in the process. That's all I want to say, really. But really grateful to be here. I'm grateful to you guys doing what you do. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Some great points there for us to kind of think about as guys, and that's really what's at the heart behind all of this is kind of getting hold of what is masculinity, kind of what does the Bible say about it, and getting that balance between, celebrating masculinity but not abusing it. And I think the issue of headship is a massive one, and I think our example and everything's got to be Jesus. And you see how he kind of led the church. It wasn't in a domineering, authoritarian way. It was a serve to lead. So that's really, I think, really big and important issue for us guys to kind of wrestle with. I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about kind of where the journey that Mighty Men has come on since it started, and then that's going to kind of lead into Alex talking a little about where we want to go with the future. So it really kind of started about a year and a half ago with Alex and I just kind of getting together. We were both wrestling with some issues. We were kind of thought, we need to be accountable to each other. So we started getting together, praying sort of weekly, fortnightly, I forget what it was. And then, a little while later, we started opening up to sort of our kind of small group at the time, and it was just getting together every sort of fortnight on Tuesday morning, just praying, chatting through some stuff, reading the Bible together. And at the time, square one was really lacking in guys. We had loads of girls, as me and Alex and Tim, and that was about it. And so one of the things we were really praying for was for more guys to come along. And actually really sort of got answered that prayer. Some amazing stories. Guys just turning up sort of the week after we started praying this, with stories like, they moved from London, they're there for a few years, just getting involved with stuff they didn't want to be involved in, and they really felt God saying you need to get away from that atmosphere. And he brought them to Bristol, plugged them right into kind of square one, where we've been praying for more guys to come along. And that's kind of carried on, kind of got a bit bigger and bigger, until kind of, it's like, just under a year ago now, we kind of launched Mighty Men as it is. And we both kind of had this real passion for kind of getting the guys together. And there's a moment where actually being in small groups and being accountable to one another is really important. But actually we kind of wanted a place where we can get everyone kind of together under kind of one banner, kind of the men of the church. I actually had kind of a bit of a vision about a year or so ago as part of 24/7 prayer week. And it was just a picture of kind of a city, and I think it was Bristol, but just with a kind of an army around it, almost sort of laying siege to it. Just felt God saying that he really wants to kind of take the city by force almost, and just sort of take it back for his own. And just got a real passion for kind of raising up that army, particularly in our generation. Standing up, what is it to be equipped and to be a kind of a mighty man for Jesus, so we can be pressing forward with that kingdom and kind of advancing that in Bristol. And then about February we kind of launched Mighty Men. It's been going in this format this year now. We've been looking through different characters in the Bible, looking at kind of where they've kind of done it well, where they've not done it so well, kind of looking at what other kind of what I think about biblical masculinity, where can we learn from these characters and apply as well in lives. And you can, if you've missed any stuff, there is kind of a YouTube channel, so get on there and check out some of the talks from this year. We've got, I think, one more in that series. So Mark in January is going to be talking about David. It's going to be awesome, so make sure you're here for that one. And then we're going to launch into a new series. I'll let Alex talk about that. Cool, yeah.
Okay, so next year, we are still in conversation about what we're going to do next year. We might continue doing the sort of thing where we'll take situations and apply the Bible to the situations, or we're going to work through a full book of the Bible in detail and drawing out the parts which particularly apply to us, working our way from the beginning of the book to the end of the book and really studying it in depth. So they're the two thoughts that we're still mulling over and praying over at the moment. But the big thing for next year is the vision. I mean, Chris shared part of his vision that he had for Bristol with the army actually surrounding the city. And next year, we've always had the vision of going into other churches and getting other guys from other churches involved behind the same banner, not this one, but Jesus Christ, all going in the same direction. I mean, they can be behind someone if they want to be. But all under the same thing, the same thing, going after the same thing. That is to see Bristol change for God. Bristol's been named a place of refuge as well. And it's part of that whole theme that actually this city, to be a place of refuge for people, needs to be sorted out. There's so much stuff in Bristol which needs to be changed, needs to be sorted. And it needs guys to be able to step out there, be brave, be courageous, be bold, and take the risk to actually get out there. And we've got so many churches across Bristol. I mean, if we had, let's say, 100 churches, and you've got 2 guys from every church coming along, meeting together like this once a month, and then going out and doing other things, that's a massive amount of guys to actually go out there and change Bristol. That's a massive amount of guys you can call on saying, we've got this issue here, we all need to go there to sort it out. And that's one thing that we want to see happen. That's one thing God's put on our heart to see happen, is to actually see Bristol change through gathering guys together, breaking down those church boundaries. And we all have a role to play in this. I mean, I think of it like a football team, but with the supporters included. Some of us here will be the supporters, cheering on, seeing when it's hard, encouraging, building people up, getting the players to keep going. Some will be the defence, some will be the keeper, looking after what we've already got, what's already been got, back into like what God's doing, and protecting that, looking after that, nurturing that. Others will be out there, like the midfielders and the attackers, so on, getting stuff back, claiming stuff back, and sorting out Bristol. There's a role for everyone here. And if people want to start something, if people want to start a group of guys, going to, Dave Hayes has the idea he wants to do a shooting club, so like Christian shooting club, tutus and shotguns and stuff. If people are interested, Dave wants to start something like that, so let them know. But anything really, getting guys together to see Bristol changed, to see Bristol become this city of refuge, this place where God is put first. It's amazing to think how many families, don't have a father there, or what guys think being a man is all about. It's often kids who can shave, but they're like 40. They haven't really grown up. They haven't really grasped what being a man is all about. And as men of God, as men of the church, drawing together from all different backgrounds, all different churches, this is a vision that we want to push next year. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough. It's going to require work. But that's where God's pushing us to. That's where God's given us the eye for. And that's where Chris's vision of surrounding the city and taking it comes into play. And that's what we're going to be praying about now. So in your groups, or if you want to break down into smaller groups, we're going to spend we could spend about 20 minutes. We've got quite a while, so that's good. Just praying about those issues. Praying about, actually, what does it look like for us moving into next year? What our role is, what our specific individual role is in this. Whether we've got any churches that God's putting on our heart to actually go meet, go talk to, and draw those guys into what we're doing. All these sorts of things. We're praying for Woodlands, the wider church, as it goes into next year. I mean, there's been a lot of exciting vision stuff that's been happening in Woodlands for next year. It's going to be a big year for this church. It's going to be a big year for God in this city next year. So we're just going to spend some time praying into that now. So, I'll pray to close, but just break into smaller groups, whatever you guys feel comfortable in, and we'll just be praying for the next 10 or so minutes.